Many people choose commands on their own, and many also seek out teachers. No matter which channel you learn from, there are often many theoretical explanations. There is indeed analysis involved. This is also why various different schools of thought emerge. So how do we distinguish between what is right and wrong, and whether something can be used in a certain way? We always hope to help more people understand this. What are the principles of pathology? What is its true meaning? Only from this perspective can you adapt to the changes of different eras. Unfortunately, among Chinese people, there is a habit of believing that what is written in books is the absolute truth, which leads to a lot of inner fear. One of the most common questions we get is whether having an empty palace means a person's life will be terrible. When faced with this question, the example I most often use is a very well-defined and highly regarded pattern in Zi Wei Astrology called Mingzhu Chu Hai, pearl emerging from the sea. This pattern is when the life palace is empty and its opposite palace is occupied by Tiantong and Jumen. In the books, this is described as an exceptionally good configuration, even though the life palace itself is empty. So is having an empty palace a bad thing? In reality, an empty palace does not mean there are no stars, nor does the absence of stars mean you should be afraid. First of all, every palace must interact with its opposite palace, not to mention there is also the three-way verification. Basically, for every palace, you must look at its opposite. If so, even if a palace lacks a main star, it's still influenced by its opposite. An empty palace actually needs to borrow from its opposite. But how do you distinguish and borrow? Essentially, when a palace is empty, we borrow the main star from the opposite. This is because every palace must be considered with its opposite, so it's naturally influenced. A common example. Tanlang represents desire, but how that desire manifests depends on what's in its opposite. For instance, if its opposite is Wu Q, it will manifest in a very pragmatic way. Even if he has many desires, he still needs to be meticulous and calculating. If it's Zi Wei, then the desire is to show off. He wants everyone to admire him and think he's great, because Zi Wei needs vanity. If it's Lian Zhen, it means that his desire is to make his world richer and more colorful. So, the way each desire is expressed will be different, and you have to look at the opposite palace. This is the case when there is no empty palace. But what if it's an empty palace? Since this position no longer has a main star, I'm completely influenced by the opposite palace. Does that mean that the way I express myself will largely reflect the signals from the opposite palace? This is why an empty palace needs to borrow the signals from the opposite palace. The basic origin is that the two palaces must influence each other. You can think of it like this. For example, if you're married, the man is responsible for things outside the home and the woman for things inside. So you may have many desires, but your husband is very practical. Wouldn't your desires then be limited by his practicality? But if in this case there isn't a division of roles, if you're making all the decisions yourself, then your inner and outer selves are consistent and you can do whatever you want. This is the basic principle behind the empty palace borrowing from the opposing palace. Currently, there are three main explanations for the empty palace. The first is that the empty palace takes all the stars from the opposing palace. Not just the main star, but every auxiliary star in the opposing palace as well. However, this explanation is quite unreasonable. The fundamental structure of Zi Wei Doshu is actually based on the main stars. All the auxiliary stars that come later are just supporting elements. What can be borrowed is really only the main star. The second explanation is that empty is just empty, meaning it doesn't borrow any stars at all. This is basically the least reasonable of all the explanations. Because if every palace is influenced by its opposing palace, and this palace has no main star's influence, then the main star in the opposing palace would clearly exert its power. The second explanation completely violates the basic logic of Zi Wei Doshu. The third explanation, which is currently the most widely accepted viewpoint, is as follows. Empty means it borrows the main star from the opposite palace, but there's a subtle difference here. After borrowing the main star, people tend to think that since it's borrowed, its power seems to be a bit weaker. However, as we explain in class, it's not that the borrowed main star is inherently weaker, but rather that sometimes it can be borrowed and sometimes it can't. Over time, you'll notice that sometimes you can borrow it and sometimes you can't, so naturally you'll feel that way. It seems like its power is uncertain, so you feel as if its strength is relatively weak. But in fact, that's not the case. So why make this distinction? For example, let's say my main line is the wealth line and I'm doing a noon shift, but for the public account, it's empty. In that case, I should transfer the noon shift over, recording it as income on both sides. At this point, I might end up double counting the income. Strictly speaking, this would indicate that my main line should be doing extremely well, but I still feel at certain points in time, things don't seem to be going that well. That's actually because at those times, your main star can't be transferred over, so you can't achieve double counted income. Naturally, you'll feel like the power being transferred isn't very strong. So what's the reason behind this? It's because sometimes it can be transferred and sometimes it can't. Simply put, its power weakens. But if you want to know exactly when it can be transferred and when it can't, when exactly is that? When does it not work? So doesn't that mean we can work hard to make money when it works and be more conservative when it doesn't? This way, you can adjust your chart much better than someone who only knows that its power is weakened because you'll know which timing is better for you. So what's the final answer? When exactly does it work and when doesn't it? When any of these 6 stars are present in the palace, it can't be transferred. Which 6 stars are these? Wenchang, Wenku, Qingyang, Poluo, Pokxin, and Lingxing, if any are present, you can't use the empty palace method to move the main star over and create the double-eye demon pool. Sometimes it's because your palace was originally empty, but if you've attended our classes, watched our programs, or bought my books, you'll know that we have the yang of the fortune line and the support of the fortune line. When the yang and the support of the fortune line enter into direct opposition, of course, I can't borrow. This results in what I just mentioned. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and in the end, it's always inconsistent. What everyone is confused about is, why can't we borrow if these 6 stars are present? Actually, it's because of Wenchang and Wenku, as well as the 4 malefic stars, which in the Zi Wei Doshu chart represent 6 types of emotions and moods within us that are difficult to control purely by our own willpower. These completely represent the emotional aspect of us. Wenchang represents our rational side, while the 4 malefic stars each represent 4 types of uncontrollable emotions and impulses. For example, Mars represents your passion. Qingyang represents your persistence and stubbornness. Tuoluo represents your entanglement and your unwillingness to let go, while Lingxing stands for calm calculation and refusal to give up. These 6 types are all psychological states that are very difficult to eliminate. So, if you have these psychological states appearing in a certain position, then of course the main star in the opposing palace may not be able to influence you, or its influence will be greatly diminished. Many people then ask, "Teacher, in this situation, how should I interpret this palace?" Let's go back to what I mentioned earlier in the video. Every palace must be viewed in relation to its opposing palace. So, for example, if your life palace is an empty palace but has a Wenchang star, and its opposing palace is Wukan, which is the travel palace represents your interpersonal relationships outside and your inner thoughts. Therefore, your external relationships are pragmatic and you hope for more opportunities. When there is nothing to gain, greed means hoping for more opportunities. Deep down, you also hope that your relationships with people outside are good, but you will pragmatically consider what kind of friends to make. Returning to your natal chart, if my life palace is empty, then I will borrow back my personality traits from the opposing palace. It will also be expressed in this way, consistent inside and out. But what if I have the Wenchang star? In terms of personality, the main focus will be explained directly using the Wenchang star. You can simply think of Wenchang and Wenchu as the main surnames to consider. This person needs a life that is very orderly and structured, very rational. So when he faces his humility, lack of desire, or greed, even though he hopes to have more interpersonal relationships, everything must conform to that clear set of rules in his heart. For example, when it's a situation where lending is not allowed, you can still apply these 6 stars in the same way. He views Kang, Ku, Huo, Ling, Yang, Tuo, and Gang as similar to the main type, because at this time, this unshakable emotion will dominate his entire life and sense of value, which in turn affects his ability to respond. So he is unable to borrow new medicine. This part is a little bit complicated. So many imitation books tend to oversimplify Kongguang. For things they can't explain, many teachers will just tell you, "Oh, your life palace is empty, so your thoughts are unstable, you're confused, you're all over the place. You don't know what you're doing, so you're unlucky." They like to scare you like this. From now on, don't worry about your empty anymore. Its function is simply to borrow from the opposite palace. If you've watched more of our videos, you know there are the Yang and Tuo lines in the fortune path. When it comes to Yang and Tuo, you need to pay attention to whether they're placed in the opposite palace. At this point, if you can't remember, that's okay. Thank you, everyone.